priority needs to be given to management, governance and accountability. And Martrade represents Malaysian semiconductor firms at Semicon West 2024. Good evening and salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm Brendan Lepore. Preparations for polling day for the Sungai Bakap State by-election tomorrow are proceeding smoothly. Election Commission EC Secretary Dato' Ikmalruddin Ishak said all presiding officers and security personnel have been briefed to ensure the smooth running of the polling process.
Bersama-sama membuat sebakan persiapan untuk kita jalankan akhir besok hari. So, antara kita semak semua ni, peralatan yang akan digunakan lah ya. Peti undi, kawat, peta undi dan juga peralatan yang melibatkan persiapan logistik lah ya. Borang-borang.
He added that all 9 polling centres with 65 streams will be open from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. tomorrow to enable 39,151 registered voters to elect their new assemblyman. Dato' Ikmalruddin said that so far, the EC has not received any petitions regarding offences throughout the by-election campaign from the police or the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC). He added that a total of 552 personnel are involved in the by-election. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has congratulated Keir Starmer and the British Labour Party on their sweeping victory in the United Kingdom general election. Datuk Seri Anwar, who is also Finance Minister, said he looks forward to working with Starmer and his team to develop a new strategic relationship built on inclusivity, equality, mutual respect, people-to-people connection and a shared vision for the future. The Prime Minister described the partnership between Malaysia and Britain as an enduring one, woven through history and strengthened by the close bonds of kith and kin. He said that Britain's participation in the CPTPP, Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for the Trans-Pacific Partnership, broadens the horizon for the economic partnership of both countries. In addition, Dr. Sri Anwar said the 5 power defence arrangements also serve as a cornerstone for mutual security, enhancing regional stability and fostering closer defence cooperation between Malaysia and Britain. It was reported that the Labour Party, headed by Starmer, has won an outright majority in the lower house of the British Parliament, according to a tally of seats by broadcaster Sky News. Now, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim wants every ministry, department and agency to give priority to the aspects of management, governance and accountability in issues mentioned in the Auditor General's report LKAN2 2024 tabled in the Dewan Rakyat yesterday. Communications Minister Fahmi Fadil, who is also the Unity Government spokesman, said that the matter was raised by the Prime Minister at the Cabinet meeting, which he chaired today.
Tapi yang menjadi keutamaan untuk Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri adalah isu pengurusan ataupun tata kelola dan aspek kebertanggungjawaan, accountability dalam isu seperti yang telah dibangkitkan dalam audit.
Fahmi said the Aegis report is expected to be debated in the Dewan Rakyat next week to give room for members of parliament to share their opinions and views. At the same time, he said if the National Audit Department believes that there are any matters that need to be brought to the attention of enforcement bodies, such as the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission (MACC), there is no objection on the part of the government. And adding to that, the Ministry of Human Resources, Kasuma, has no problem if any relevant party wants to conduct further investigations into its agencies, following the Auditor General's report LKAN2 2024 published on Thursday. Minister Stephen Sim Chee Kiong said that Kasuma will also not tolerate any violation of the law. Sim said he had instructed the Ministry Secretary-General Datuk Sri Khairul Zaimi Daud and Human Resources Development Corporation HRD Corp Chief Executive Datuk Shahul Hamid Dawood to lodge a report with the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC based on the findings in the report. Sim said in a statement that Kasuma takes the report by the National Audit Department and the Public Accounts Committee PAC very seriously. He added that he was informed about the auditing process by the two bodies when he took over the ministry in mid-December 2023 and had instructed Kasuma and HRD Corp to fully cooperate with the National Audit Department and PAC. Additionally, Sim initiated a re-engineering process across ministries to ensure efficient governance. This included implementing measures at the HRD Corp level to prevent the issues raised in the National Audit Department and PAC reports from recurring. The Cabinet has endorsed proposals for policy and a draft bill to amend the Penal Code and the Criminal Procedure Code, targeting online crime involving mule accounts, to be presented in Parliament during the ongoing session. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Law and Institutional Reform, Datuk Sri Azalina Othman Syed, said the 2024 Draft Penal Code Amendment Bill includes specific provisions addressing the use of mule accounts. In a statement today, Datuk Sri Azalina emphasised the urgency of amending the Penal Code Act 574 to keep pace with rapid technological advancements frequently exploited by criminals. She said the proposed 2024 Criminal Procedure Code Amendment Bill introduces new procedural provisions, empowering police to direct the seizure of funds in bank accounts suspected of involvement in criminal activities. She said that introducing these specific legal provisions is crucial to enhancing the effectiveness of law enforcement agencies in their duties. Datuk Sri Azalina also expressed hope that bipartisan support from members of parliament will ensure the safety and well-being of the people under the Madani government. The Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation, or MATRADE, is set to oversee Malaysian semiconductor-related companies' participation at Semicon West 2024, taking place from July 9th to 11th at the Moscone Center in San Francisco, California. The CEO of MATRADE, Dr. Muhammad Mustafa Abdul Aziz, emphasizes the significance of Malaysia's continuous presence at Semicon West to establish the country as a key global player in the semiconductor value chain. In line with this goal, MATRADE is implementing strategic measures to enhance Malaysian firms' engagement in the worldwide electrical and electronics E&E supply chain and facilitate their global expansion. Under the coordination of MATRADE Los Angeles, the Malaysia Pavilion will host impactful activities including pre-arranged B2B business matchmaking and networking sessions with industry leaders throughout the event's 3-day duration. A total of 10 Malaysian exhibitors such as CG Global Profastex Manufacturing, Cortex Robotics and ECA Advanced Solutions will demonstrate a diverse range of electronics manufacturing capabilities. MATRADE reports sustained growth in Malaysia's E&E exports from January to May 2024, reaching 228.38 billion ringgit, with semiconductor exports comprising 146.95 billion ringgit, marking the sector's second consecutive month of growth. Proton New Energy Technology Sendirian Berhad, or PRODET, aspires to lead the national car industry in harnessing the transformative power of electric vehicles (EV) to build a greener future with the expansion of Proton E-Mas dealership network. In a statement today, ProNet Chief Executive Officer Zhang Qiang said, Proton E-Mas dealerships are not just points of sale but are hubs of innovation and learning dedicated to educating and inspiring individuals. To recap, on 12th of June, national car maker Proton appointed the first 17 Proton E-Mas dealerships via a signing ceremony that launched the brand, with 4 outlets in Selangor, 3 in Kuala Lumpur and Perak, 2 each in Johor and Pulau Pinang, and 1 each in Kedah, Kelantan and Pahang. Since then, an additional dealer has joined the network, bringing the total to 18 dealerships, with 1 outlet representing East Malaysia in Sabah. Zhang further noted that the initiative initiative marks their commitment to building greater trust among customers, and ProNet are determined to become the segment leader for national cars in the EV sector. Managed by ProNet, he said this portfolio expansion marks a significant milestone in the Proton e-Mars dealership network and invited more partners to join in making EV more accessible to enthusiasts across Malaysia. He said they aim to reach 30 outlets by 2025 with flexible expansion plans based on demand. And in other news, it's time for the government to review the high profits levy on palm oil to make the commodity more competitive. Economic analysts suggest that the current levy rate should be adjusted according to the increasing production costs.
Seharusnya kerajaan perlu menimbang semula sama ada untuk meneruskan levy yang dikenakan kepada minyak sawit. Ini berikutan pelaksanaan levy ke atas minyak sawit telah dilaksanakan beberapa tahun apabila harga semasa itu begitu tinggi. Dahulunya mungkin 1 tan kosnya adalah sekitar RM1,800 untuk 1 tan, kini telah meningkat berganda kepada antara RM2,800 hinggalah RM3,200 untuk 1 tan metrik.
If the levy can be reduced, it can help increase the income of smallholders and attract foreign or local investments. This can further expand the country's oil palm plantation area, thereby boosting the productivity of palm oil as one of the main export commodities of the country. Currently, the levy imposed is 3% on palm oil prices exceeding 3,000 per tonne in Peninsular Malaysia and 3,500 per tonne in Sabah and Sarawak. The government's decision to implement the diesel subsidy targeting measure, despite being considered as unpopular, is a bold step for more efficient national subsidy management. In the long term, University Malaysia Perlis UNIMAP Business and Communication Faculty Senior Lecturer, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Zukimi Majuno said, people need to realise that the management of national subsidies is critical at the moment. Therefore, the targeting of subsidies is for the welfare of the people in the future. He said the benefits of rationalizing targeted subsidies for the long term include being able to develop an inclusive economy by promoting economic diversification to reduce dependence on certain sectors as well as ensuring more job opportunities. Additionally, Dr. Muhammad Zukimi said this can increase investment in basic infrastructure and technology to stimulate sustainable economic growth. He also suggested that the government take a holistic and inclusive approach to the public's reaction to subsidy targeting, including through a clear information campaign for the people. Apart from this, Dr. Muhammad Zukimi said close monitoring of the Budi Madani assistance needs to be carried out from time to time so that the right target groups receive the targeted subsidies. Bank Negara Malaysia's B&M international reserves amounted to $113.8 billion as at 28 June this year, compared with $114.1 billion as at 14 June this year. The central bank, through a statement, said the reserves position was sufficient to finance 5.4 months of imports of goods and services and was 1 times the total short-term external debt. The main components of the reserves were foreign currency reserves, which stood at $101.6 billion, followed by International Monetary Fund reserves, $1.3 billion, special drawing rights, SDRs, $5.7 billion, gold, $2.9 billion, and other reserve assets, $2.3 billion. Total assets stood at 639.88 billion ringgit, comprising gold and foreign exchange and other reserves, including SDRs, 537.28 billion ringgit, Malaysian government papers, 12.91 billion ringgit, deposits with financial institutions, 2.41 billion ringgit, loans and advances, 24.96 billion ringgit, land and buildings, 4.13 billion ringgit, and other assets, 58.20 billion ringgit. B&M said capital and liabilities comprise paid-up capital, 100 million ringgit, reserves, 199.64 billion ringgit, currency in circulation, 166.44 billion ringgit, deposits by financial institutions, 153.14 billion ringgit, federal government deposits, 5.86 billion ringgit, and other deposits 62.87 billion ringgit. Bank Negara papers 18.65 billion ringgit, allocations of SDRs 29.96 billion ringgit, and other liabilities 3.22 billion ringgit. Thanks for staying with us, and it's time for the next segment of our bulletin. On the table. Over to you, Moana.
Good evening and welcome back to the program. Beginning 1st August this year, taxpayers with an annual turnover exceeding 100 million ringgit are required to implement e-invoicing. Today on the table, we have the privilege of welcoming back Mr. Harvinder Singh, Council Member of the Chartered Tax Institute of Malaysia. Mr. Harvinder, thank you so much for coming back on the program today.
Thank you, Mona. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, let's begin with perhaps a quick refresher of what exactly e-invoicing is.
Okay, Mona, I'll try to simplify invoicing as best as I can. So let's first of all assume that because in any transaction there'll be a buyer and a purchaser and a seller. So let me be the service provider, the supplier, and you are my customer, my client. And let's assume I'm providing some tax consultancy services to you. So I would obviously, currently I would send an invoice to you for you to pay once the services have been performed. With e-invoicing, you would eventually have an invoice, a similar sort of invoice that is meant for payment, but the process of getting there is a little bit quite different. So first of all, I will need to initiate the creation of an e-invoice. And to do that, I can use the IRB's My Invoice portal, which is provided free of charge. And I think that's an important point because there's a lot of concern out there that for the small businesses, how are they going to adopt the technology to get into e-invoicing?
That's right.
But IRB says that this is there, available free of charge. Everybody can use it. So I think that's quite reassuring. So I can use that My Invoice portal.
My Invoices.
And put in the details. Actually, there are 55 fields that they need to be populated.
That's pretty extensive.
It is, but
I believe it's a one-time thing. Once you're already in the system.
So once you enter the My Invoice portal, you've set it up, you've done the one-time population, then it's auto-filled, auto-populated subsequently. Right. So for the subsequent transactions, the relevant details, the unique details like the different purchaser, the different IDs and all that, about 6 fields perhaps will need to be filled.
Right.
Right. So with that, having done that and submitted it for validation, I fill in the details, I submit for validation. The IRB's system will validate it within, they call it near real time, so within like 2 minutes.
Okay.
2 seconds rather.
Oh, 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Immediate.
Immediately. Right. So validated invoices would be, there will be a notification to both the to yourself and me, to both the seller, the service provider, and to the customer. And I, as the supplier of that service, the person that initiated that invoice, will be given a QR code that I will share with you. Okay. Right, so you can access that invoice. I need you to pay me, so you need to be able to see that invoice. Correct. But currently, just a quick update, bearing in mind that many people may have issues with QR codes, they're not used to these systems, etc. You can do a visual representation, right, of that e-invoice and share it with the customer, so that at least they can see. So now you, once the e-invoice has been validated and I've shared it with you, you have 72 hours to reject it in case I've overcharged you, for example. If you do not do any such cancellation or no cancellation takes place within 72 hours, then the e-invoice is valid. It will be stored in the IRB's database for future retrieval for a period of 10 years. Right, so this e-invoicing system basically involves or rather the tax authorities are privy to all the transactions, the values that take place. It's not to be confused with the the PDF versions of current invoices that are downloaded or uploaded online or sent by email.
Okay.
So that's essentially what, in a nutshell, what e-invoicing is all about.
Okay. Now, Mr. Harminda, I'm just wondering, because this seems pretty tedious to do. You mentioned 55 fields. What about supermarkets, hypermarkets? How do they cope with issuing e-invoices? They go through hundreds and thousands of transactions every day.
Sure.
The regular supermarkets like Giant and Hero, how would they be coping with this?
We've got this concept or this facility of what we call a consolidated e-invoice.
Okay.
Right. So in business to business transactions, typically it would be that individual invoice.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about consumers that are coming in, for the supermarket can basically continue to do business as usual and issue the normal receipts because you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of customers, right? To put in all those details on the spot. Currently, it is an issue, but down the track, moving along in future, I believe there will be the My Invoice apps, QR codes, etc. And if I'm at the counter and the girl at the counter, the sales girl, can just scan that app or the QR code, and all my details, which are stored with the IRB's My Invoice portal, would be available for them. And then they just need to click that submit button for the invoice to be validated. 2 seconds is validated, and there you have it. So it would be typically the same manner of transacting, but that facility is not there right now. So for now, they continue to issue the normal receipts, but at the end of every month, you need to consolidate all those receipts, and within 7 days of the end of the month, you need to submit a consolidated e-invoice with your details of the receipts, submit it to the IRB for validation, and once validated, that becomes your proof of income.
Got it.
You don't have to share this with the purchasers because there are no details of the purchasers, right? But again, if any one of the purchasers wants to request for a specific e-invoice individually for that person,
you can
do so.
I see.
But you have to make the request within that month. If, let's say, I've gone to that counter and I purchased for my company, I forgot to request for an e-invoice, and then I go back to my office and my boss says, where's that e-invoice? And then I make a request, you can do that.
So we've got to be on our toes then.
Oh, yes, right.
Okay. Now, the plan to implement this system for businesses with revenue of more than 100 million ringgit on August 1st, which is literally just a few weeks away, it is on, right? Or do you think there could be a deferment?
Well, actually, the feedback from the IRB has consistently been, and up to just a couple of days as well ago, that there will be no deferment. They have set up this testing environment, the sandbox environment, for about 2 months now, where more than 4,300 companies have gone in and taxpayers have gone in and tested the e-invoicing mechanism. And just recently, they've also opened up this production environment where you can actually go in and do real submission of e-invoicing.
Okay.
And about 100 over companies have already gone in there to participate.
This is as a testing ground to make sure that no big
the sandbox environment is the testing ground.
Okay.
But the production environment is actually actual. So you can start submitting actual invoices.
Okay. So the deadline is 1st August, but people are already using it.
You can go in and you can start using. So the IRB feels that things are moving along pretty okay. There will naturally be certain initial teething problems and hiccups, but that's quite natural, especially if you're talking about a big mega project.
And we'll get to that in a bit. But just a couple of days ago, the government announced that micro SMEs that earn less than 150,000 ringgit annually won't be required to issue e-invoices. So I guess this is welcome news for them.
I think, yes, indeed it is, because actually e-invoicing affects all parties, all individuals, all legal entities as well. which means that somebody like we always talk about the nasi lemak seller, the
Yes.
makcik, right? She's also carrying on a business, essentially, and she's required to issue an e-invoice as well.
That's right.
But
It
she may not-
adds a layer of complexity to the
Yeah.
business operations.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. And the thing is, they would probably not have the capability or the capacity even to do that. So this would be definitely welcome news
Yeah.
to parties that do not earn, or earn less than 150,000
That's right.
annually. But IRB still says that they still encourage these parties to do participate
Okay.
in e-invoicing if they can, because in future this exemption may not be made available.
Yeah.
Although we at the Chartered Tax Institute of Malaysia have put in proposals in the past, and I believe this is one of the proposals that have been accepted, that perhaps the quantum should be about 500,000 to be in line with the service tax threshold to register
Right.
for service tax.
Now, what-
150,000 is a good start.
That's right. It is.
Yep.
Now, what are the challenges that you see happening with the business community when it comes to e-invoicing? I'm sure there are, but
yeah.
what are the main ones?
I think, firstly, the technological shift,
Yeah.
right, making the switch to electronic e-invoicing, it necessitates a change from the manual method of invoicing to the automated invoicing procedures.
Yeah.
We talk about the capability of taxpayers to digitize, the fact that more than 90% businesses in Malaysia are SMEs.
Yeah.
And then statistically, it's been sort of discussed that about 70% of them are at the very initial stage of digitalization or are not digitized at all.
Right.
So it's an issue for them, but it may be a perceived issue because IRB says that, hang on, there's the My Invoice portal that you can access free of charge,
Right.
and you can use that. So amongst other issues, getting the accurate data to be input for the e-invoicing, submission, etc. Data security issues,
Yes.
resistance to change, right? The idea of moving on,
Yeah.
and the idea of having the tax authorities being privy to
That's
all
right.
the transactions.
I think that is a concern.
That is, I can imagine that would be a big concern for
Yeah.
those parties that are non-compliant. But I think it's a welcome move for all the other parties that are compliant, because it's always, whenever you are registered, you are complying and you are then audited,
Yeah.
you are checked on, it's always the usual suspects.
Yeah.
So let's expand that,
Yeah.
to other parties as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Harvinder, thank you so much for your insights today. I'm afraid we've run out of time for this session.
Okay, thank
We
you.
hope to have you again in the future to discuss this very issue.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Now, we've been chatting with Mr. Harvinder Singh, Council Member of the Chartered Tax Institute of Malaysia, on the implementation of e-invoicing in the country. Now it's back to you.
Thanks, Wana. Well, that concludes this edition of Malaysia Tonight. Long weekend ahead. Have a great one and take care. Together with Wana Priya and Brenda Lepal, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching.